Welcome back here on the Roundtable program. Cast of characters has changed a bit. We've got Alan Lance from Alan Lance and Associates to talk about kind of those savings questions out there. Alan, when I called you earlier this week, I wanted to know about all of those people who were lucky enough to get their allotment of money, if you will, back from Uncle Sam tax time-wise. What is the soundest play right now as far as investing if they want to make money on their money?
Well, I think what you have to do is if you're looking for safe, it's very difficult right now because interest rates are so low, Jeff. So it's a situation where, remember, you can negotiate with a bank. We have several good local banks that are still paying like in a money market checking 1%. When you look at a standard money market, you might be getting 10 basis points or 1/10 of that. Also on a CD, you can negotiate. We did a CD this week, 2% for 6 months. If you go by their standard rates, I mean, they're 20, 30 basis points. So those are the key items if you're looking for safe money.
So when you're looking in the paper and you're looking at a 6-month, a 1-year, a 2-year, and you're seeing point this and point that, that's not necessarily fixed.
Very important for your viewers to understand. Yeah, it's negotiable. If you have a relationship with the bank, they don't want to lose that. Many times they can pay 1/4 or 0.5% more.
Yeah.
And in this environment, 0.5% more might double your yield. So definitely keep that in mind.
I was asking you about the first quarter that we've seen here in 2012 and whether or not the stock market has been a good investment and the bond market at that, because bonds have been a lot of talk about them over the last couple of years when it's been very uncertain.
Exactly, Jeff. It's a situation where more money is flowing into bond funds than ever before, yet bonds had one of their worst quarters, the first quarter of 2012. Stocks, on the other hand...
As far as return or just people were losing?
Losing,
okay.
As far as losing principal, especially like U.S. Treasuries, which are generally deemed the safest. Stocks, on the other hand, had their best first quarter in 14 years. So it was almost like the reverse, where stocks were actually safer because they were down so much, and bonds, because the yields are so low, had more risk.
There is like a triple effect we were discussing. You have got a younger generation that has been told to do this with their money. You've got the middle generation and then the older generation where there is uncertainty over all three of those spectrums as far as what the soundest play is right now. What is it for? Let's cover the older generation right now, because a lot of them are putting off retirement.
Exactly. They have it very difficult right now because even if they have their mortgage paid off, they can't take advantage of low interest rates on their mortgage like the middle or the younger generation has. And yields are so low, so if they're keeping it safe, I mean, and I can't believe you'd make a big deal about a 2% yield, but right now a 2% FDIC yield is good for something short term. Again, if you go long 10 years and get like the 10-year Treasury's paying 1.95 this morning, that's a lot of risk for a very paltry return.
Yeah. 5
years from now, if interest rates are higher, you're going to show a loss on a Treasury. At least you can hold it to get your money back in 10 years, but you're going to get mediocre returns in the interim.
Yeah, and when you're in those two younger generations and you're looking at the interest rates and what they're sitting at now, I said to you earlier, I said, great time to buy a car, great time to refi or even get into a house loan, but you look at those savings accounts and the percentages just stink.
Yeah, at least
but do you, is it one of those things you take the good with the bad?
Yeah, at least they have the counter. At least they're paying low, historically low mortgage rates now.
Did you think they would last this long?
Well, the Fed has said, Jeff, till 2014, because the economic recovery is so anemic, that they're going to try to artificially keep interest rates low. The problem is, there's a lot of offsetting measures. So, how that affects 2 years from now. Is it like a balloon where you're holding it underwater and then once you release it, our interest rate's going to skyrocket? And that's where you have to be careful with longer term yields.
And typically in an election year uncertainty, right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I think that's why you're not going to see a lot of changes in interest rates. They're going to keep them low. They're going to try to show as strong economic numbers as possible. So it's a situation where the consumer has to just realize to negotiate and find the best yields out there, and they are available, and we have one of the best areas in the country as far as where the banks will work with you.
Yeah, and as we move forward in Q2 and Q3, even right around the corner, what do we see for people? What's the best advice out there as far as making sure they're getting the best bang for their buck?
Well, I'd be careful of any long-term bond funds, even if they're treasuries. I mean, a lot of money is going into that. You can look at a 10-year record, and it's been phenomenal. Well, you know, a 10-year record of stocks in 1999, 2000 was phenomenal too, and you didn't want to be in the stock market. So be very careful of that, number one, preservation of capital. Number two is as far as keep the duration or the length of time low, because if interest rates go up, then you get a situation where you have a 6-month maturing CD, it's not going to hurt you. And then the third thing is try to get maybe CDs or notes that are tied either to the CPI, Consumer Price Index, or LIBOR, or some type of interest rates that if it goes up, that you'll participate that instead of locking it at 1.95 or even 3% on a 15-year CD and then being stuck that long.
Dow Jones Industrial Average hovering around that 13,000 mark. It's been below it, it's been above it. Are you seeing good things out of the stock market so far? Things that you thought you would see in 2012?
We added risk going into 2012. We got out of bonds that people thought were safe and added it to equities, but we've been taking some profits. I think Europe is not resolved, so it's not going to be straight up. We're going to have that back and forth volatility. First quarter was straight up for stocks, not likely to continue.
And if people did get money back from Uncle Sam, best thing to invest? How much of it should they invest?
Yeah, no, it depends on how long term and their risk profile. But if they want to keep it safe, negotiate that CD or that note that's linked with something with interest rates rising after 2014.
Safe, underlined, and italicized, I would imagine.
Exactly.
Alan, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.
We're going to wrap things up for this show right after this.